Massachusetts. I was a chemistry major while at Holy Cross, graduated with honors, and currently work at Vertex Pharmaceuticals in Seaport as a medicinal chemist. In May, I defended my PhD in organic chemistry, which was a very good achievement and pretty something that I'm very proud of. So that was probably the biggest achievement since graduation from Holy Cross. I was a long 5 years, but well worth it. And I was able to secure a job even before I graduated. So that was very good given the conditions that we are in. One thing I miss about Holy Cross, I miss a lot of things about Holy Cross. I miss Crossroads, I miss Kimball, I miss the the cafeteria, all of that stuff. I guess one thing that I would have done differently while at Holy Cross, I think I would have networked more within with like different alumni that you meet, like platforms like this. I think I took those for granted. And later on in life, I've realized, oh, like my Holy Cross network isn't as broad as I would have loved it to be. So now I'm like networking as an adult. But if I'd started like 2015 or like 2011, I said Holy Cross, that might have been a different story. So that's something that I would have done differently. And I'll pass it back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Sheila. EC?
Hey guys, my name is Isia Hikame. My pronouns are she and hers. My class year was also 2015, the best class year. I majored in Chinese. It is. I majored in Chinese while at Holy Cross, and I'm currently in Boston, Massachusetts. Upon graduating, I took 1 year off to study for the LSAT, and I went to law school at Suffolk University. I recently left my job at Con Cavanaugh, which is a prominent Boston law firm. There I was his first year associate where I handled a myriad of different cases. Currently right now I'm focusing on myself, including my two businesses called EC Decor and Reclaim Dignity, which is a brand company. And 1 second. So yeah, that's also two of my biggest achievements since graduation, is starting two businesses within the same year. Ultimate career goal is to become a judge. And one thing I miss about Holy Cross is definitely, to echo basically what Sheila said, but also just being around my friends all the time, like it being a walk away, as well as all the organizations that I was in. I was heavily involved. I really miss, Fusion, hip hop dance team, the Step Squad, Rhythm Nation Steppers, like a lot. And one thing I made change, I would have said networking as well, because I hate networking. Like I loathe networking. But honestly, a lot of the Holy Cross people that I meet are very warm, like very warm. If you tell somebody that you're from Holy Cross, they're like, oh shoot, I'm a Holy Cross too. It's a really tight knit group. I would say that I would have changed being so involved, but I'd be lying. So yeah.
Thanks, EC. Mei Ling?
Hi, I'm Mei Ling. I graduated in 2014. I was a biology major and didn't have any minors or concentrations, but I did do summer research for 2 summers, and I did an honors thesis where I also continued that research. So I was heavily involved in the lab. And I went straight to graduate school right after. And so I went to Johns Hopkins for my PhD, and I got it in biochemistry, cellular and molecular biology. And so I went to graduate school because I really wanted to be essentially a Holy Cross professor. And I loved being able to teach students, engage with the students, and really impact their career trajectories and like just see these minds form. So that's why I went to graduate school. While I was in graduate school, I became a little bit more disenchanted with the whole academic process. And so I decided to look at potential career trajectory changes. And so I also kind of made a major switch and got very interested in developing novel therapeutics for patients. And so the idea behind going into biology in general was I always wanted to bring things that are going to help people and rather just to have these new discoveries that eventually will translate to other people. And so being in straight academics, I felt a little bit removed from that. And so I wanted to move a bit closer. And so that's where I kind of pivoted towards wanting to go more towards biotech and industry. And so currently I'm a senior scientist at Novartis, and I work in the cell therapy drug development group. And so we work on CAR T therapies, which is essentially taking a patient's blood cells, reprogramming them and reinfusing them back to defeat leukemias and lymphomas and different types of cancers like that. And so that's kind of my trajectory of how I got here. I really loved Holy Cross. I was there. I pretty much miss everything about Holy Cross. But to reiterate what Sheila said, the networking was something I did not do at all at Holy Cross. I was like a very social person, but I never kind of just like went out of my comfort zone for the sake of meeting more people. But now that I had been on the job market and was reaching out to Holy Cross alum so frequently, I really wish I did it earlier, because people are so warm and so willing to help each other. And people love talking about themselves too. So if you reach out and you're just like, I'd love to hear about what your trajectory was like, people are going to say yes, absolutely. And then you can friend them on LinkedIn. And then even if you don't go down that path, they might know someone that's going down a path that you decide to go to. And they're more than happy to connect you with people that are in their network. So that would be my advice to you guys.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Amir.
Hello, hello. So my name is Amir Phillips. My gender pronouns are he, him, and his. And I was in the class of 2017, so going on 3 years now. EC and Chris are low-key like my big sibs from CASA, so it's always great to see them. Special shout out. So I majored while I was at Holy Cross in Spanish, and I did the pre-business track. I kind of thought that Spanish was just going to be something that was fun, just to, get that requirement done. And then I just fell in love with it. And I was like, oh, we watching telenovelas for like, just for class? That's what we doing? Like, all right, cool. I'm down with it. So ended up majoring in Spanish. Currently in Stoughton, Massachusetts. After graduation, I spent 2 years at Crystal Ray New York High School in Harlem, New York, as a college counselor. So I had a lot of fun there, riding trains, eating at bodegas, the vibes, all that whatnot. Oh, hi, Erica. And then after that, I transitioned back here after my 2 years there and got a job at MIT as an admissions counselor. And actually 2 weeks ago or so, I got promoted to the assistant director role for the multicultural recruitment team. So very excited to be moving up, Black excellence type vibes, So yeah. And then I guess ultimate career goal, I think probably educational policy is where I'm heading. Like affirmative action is something I'm very passionate about, and to many folk, and I'm just gonna be transparent with y'all, I feel like a lot of white folk in general don't really get it. So I really wanna do a little bit more work around that and making sure that, we have equitable educational environments for everybody. Biggest achievement since graduation, I would say it would be a tie between getting promoted to the assistant director role and seeing some of my students from Crystal Ray come to Holy Cross. Melanie, I don't know, she's probably not on here, but that's my little girl. So very excited that she's there. Very excited that Daisy's on campus as well and got other people swinging through. So very excited about that. One thing I miss about Holy Cross, UC kind of touched on it in regards to just seeing my friends all the time. Like once you graduate, people move and go to different corners of the US and the world. And it's not as easy to keep in contact and, just go to Crossroads and eat and whatnot. So definitely missed that. One thing I would have changed about Holy Cross is I think I spent a lot of time doing a lot of extracurriculars, which was nice. But financial literacy, I'm still trying to figure out loans. I'm still trying to figure out how to invest. I'm still trying to figure out how to make my money work for me. And I know there were things that are on campus about that type of stuff. And I did the pre-business program, but I just never really sat with it. And so now, I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's this private loan at 6.7%? That doesn't sound too bad. And they be smiling. They give you little lollipops and stuff at the bank. I'm gonna stop because I'm gonna get worked up. I wish that I took a little bit more time to prepare myself financially for after undergrad. And I'll leave it there.
Wow, thank you for dropping gems, Amir. And Don.
Hello, everyone. My name is Don Mador. I'm originally from Dorchester, Massachusetts. I was a poli-sci, political science, African American studies major. I currently live in Washington, D.C. I got my MBA, Master's in Business Administration from Boston College, and then pursued my MS in Cybersecurity Policy and Governance. I currently work in the defense industry. I work for Raytheon, which is a defense contractor. We essentially make missiles, radars, bombs for the US government and foreign countries. I have extensive experience in biopharma, retail commerce, higher education, and my ultimate career goal is evolving, actually, because even in this environment, you have to be very adaptable to whatever situation you're faced. I think for me, when I graduated in 2011, we were in the middle of a downturn, and we didn't have as many internships as previous years, and it was really hard for a lot of my classmates to get placed in jobs. But I think it worked. And at the end of the day, I learned how to be innovative and creative. But in the ultimate goal, I think for me, and generally speaking, I want to be the lead or the manager of a team of engineers, project managers in the cybersecurity space. My biggest accomplishment, I think, is essentially having gone through MBA and all of grad school has afforded me the opportunity to take more opportunities at work and progress and make decent money so that I can also support my family. And because of that, they are exposed to a lot of different things that they wouldn't normally be exposed to. And I guess for me, I had a really good Holy Cross experience. I was very much involved with the music scene. I'm a founding father of Sons of Pitches, so if you see them around, that's me. So me and my friends, we pretty much started the group. And I believe this would have been the 10th year. So I think we started in 2009, 2010-ish. It's been a great experience, but it was a great experience, but what I would have done differently, I think my senior year, actually let me back up a bit. My junior year, I ended up someone at the head of the residence life for Reem Paris. She had kind of tricked me into becoming an RA at the end of my senior year. So I ended up becoming a senior year. During my senior year, I became an RA, and it kind of shifted my social life because I didn't think I would ever be an RA because I'm sort of like more a reserved person. And so it helped me, branch out of my shell, but I didn't get a chance to live with my classmates and my friends in the senior apartments. And who knows what that would have led to and what sort of interactions I would have had. But overall, it was a good experience, and I'm very excited about this because every time when I get an opportunity to talk about my Holy Cross experience and to talk about opportunities, I think it's always good to take advantage of that, especially as a student.
Wow, we have an impressive lineup of panelists today. Cathy?
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. I'm Cathy Fernandez. I am originally from the Dominican Republic. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I was also part of the class of 2015 with EC and Sheila and Chris. So super happy and honored to see them all again and see how much they're thriving. My major at Holy Cross is music and pre-med, and currently I'm a nomad, it feels like, you guys. I'm normally based out of New York City. I moved there about a year ago from Los Angeles, but I've since escaped the pandemic and I'm spending some time in Florida, another epicenter, and Los Angeles, where the air quality could be better, but it's okay. We're still hanging in there. Currently, I work at the Walt Disney Company, and I've been with the company for about 3.5 years. In reality, it's really been 16 months since I was previously at Hulu, where I worked on original content, live TV, and HBO. And I moved over to ESPN Plus, where I actually, just like Amir, recently got promoted yesterday to Director of Original Content Development and Integration. So super excited to hopefully change what a fan and a consumer is for sports. So super exciting to be here and to be able to celebrate with all of you. I would say my ultimate career goal, I don't know if I really have one. I think the longer I've been in my career, which is only 5 years out, I realized that doing things that you're passionate about is really important, but I think advocating for people is even more important, especially at a critical time like now. So I've been spending a lot more time really volunteer. I became a child advocate for the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights, which advocates on behalf of immigrant children who are in proceedings for deportation. That's really important. I'm an immigrant myself. I was not born in this country. And there is something great about understanding that and understanding the greatness that can be America. So that's something that I would say is one of my biggest achievements. I think, being nominated for 30 Under 30 would be right up there, but all those things, you can't really die with them, right? You can't take those accolades to the grave. So I much rather make a greater impact. Things I miss about Holy Cross, I lived with my best friend senior year, y'all, and we had so much fun. It's illegal to have that much fun, honestly. We pushed ourselves, we challenged ourselves. It was the most diverse, one of the most diverse dorms. I lived with a white girl from Maryland, an Afghan. I was Dominican. There was a girl from Texas who was Mexican as well. So we just had a ball of fun. And I wish that the one thing I would have changed is I probably would have worked less. I did have a what felt like a full-time job at the time in Cambridge. But you can't really regret anything you do. It allowed me the opportunity to move to LA with some money, especially not coming from money. So hindsight's 2020, but I'm glad I can still connect with them today. So Chris, thank you for having me. I'm super pumped to be here.
Wow, y'all gonna make me cry. Like, I feel it's so beautiful to just listen to y'all share your stories and where y'all at right now. And that obviously that took a lot of hard work. And so from the initial introductions, I'm already seeing that we might need some individual Zoom programs with each of you just to dive deeper into some of the things that y'all have shared so far. But regardless, we are gonna get started. So I did receive some questions beforehand, so I'll be going back and forth with the questions that I drafted before, but questions that I've received from students. So, question: did you go straight to grad school after Holy Cross? And I know a number of you responded to this, but why did you make that decision? Why did you make the decision to wait a year? Why did you make the decision to go straight into grad school? I see Don.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't by choice. Because of the current environment that I was in, that was the only, I didn't have the money or the resources to just jump into grad school because it's costly. Paying for, the GRE was a cost for me, paying for the, all these standard exams and applications, it's very expensive. So, for me, I wanted to make sure that, and I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated. So that was also an issue, but I think overall, it's an option. Like, it's okay to not know exactly where you're gonna go eventually. But the only thing you can do is do the best job that you can in your current role, the first job, and then try to move up and progress. And over time, when the opportunity presents itself, I had, you can definitely, apply to different schools and figure out exactly what sort of profession you want to pursue. So that option is always available, but don't limit yourself. That's what I would say.
Thanks, Don. Amir?
Yeah, I won't speak too much so that Sheila and Nisi can jump in, but I'm currently in my second semester. So I started during the summer at Northeastern for College of Professional Studies. So I'm going for a higher education administration master's. And I didn't want to start my master's right after Holy Cross, principally because I didn't want to take out any more loans. Like I took out enough loans for Holy Cross. I was like, there's no way I'm doing that again. So my whole thing was, I need to find a place where I can work that will give me some form of tuition reimbursement or will pay for my degree for me, because I just don't have that type of time to be, and I need money. Like I can't be a full-time student. Like that's just not in the cards. That wasn't in the cards for me again. So that's why I waited until I got to where I'm at currently at MIT. They have a tuition reimbursement program. And once they said that, I was like, Gucci, so we good. So you got me, because I'm not taking out any more loans. So that's a little bit about like how I got to Northeastern, and I'm currently in my program too, if you have any questions about that.
Thank you. Sheila, and then EC.
Yeah, so I did a shadowing program through the Office of Career Services at Holy Cross during my junior year. And this was with like a chemical company out in Andover. And so I could see like the different levels of what a master's scientist could do and a PhD scientist and versus like a bachelor scientist. So that was very instrumental in informing me of what path I wanted to take. So early by the end of my junior year, I was sure I wanted to go to graduate school. So there was no point of me waiting. But also science PhDs are free. I was like, all right, I don't have to pay for it. And even if you change your mind halfway through it, you can take your master's and don't have to pay for it. So that was one of the incentive. Yeah, but knowing what I wanted to do was probably instrumental in that decision.
Thanks, Sheila.
So I took 1 year off of between college and law school, and it was by force because I applied to law school during my senior year of Holy Cross. However, it did not work out. So I was studying for the LSAT during first semester of senior year on top of my most demanding semester at Holy Cross. I ended up getting great grades, but my LSAT was trash. I still applied because I was very naive. But I still applied because I was very naive. LSATs is very important. Whoever is here is trying to go to law school. But it didn't work out. I did end up getting into one school, but it was a school that I didn't even remember putting on my list. So I decided I would take a year off to study for the LSAT, and I ended up doing a much better job on the LSAT the second time around. And I was able to get a scholarship to go to some of the schools that I went to, and I ended up deciding upon Suffolk. So that 1 year was because it didn't work out the first time.
Thank you for sharing that. Mei Ling?
Just wanted to add that if you are considering a PhD program, I think you do have to really think about whether or not you need a PhD for what your career aspirations are. Because unlike a master's program, a PhD program can vary between 5 and 7 years usually. And so it's a big time commitment, and it's very, very like arduous. And so if you don't need your PhD and you don't necessarily want it, it's going to be very tough to get through it. And so just keep that consideration in mind if you are thinking about doing a longer program.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make. Like a PhD program is not a joke. And, you know, once you're in, you're in for a long haul. And so that's a really good point. Thank you for sharing. Can you describe your application process? And I'm going to add to that so that we can get a lot of out of this question, but can you describe your application process and when did you start? EC?
So like I said before, I started senior year of Holy Cross, but I ended up completely changing everything I did. I had a completely new personal statement, completely new recommendation. Well, that's a lie. I had the same recommendations because they were great recommendation letters. But during that process, it was good for me because I had a whole year to do it. Also, one of the jobs that I was working at during my year off was at a law firm where I was a receptionist. And so I was able to talk to some of the lawyers there who helped me essentially write my, well, I shouldn't say write. They helped me edit and think about the things that I should be writing in my application. So the second time around doing the application was a lot easier than the first time. I had way more confidence in myself, and yeah, it was more smooth. And I had a whole year, so I could take my time.
Nice. Don?
I also had a similar experience. I had to apply to the MBA programs twice. I did 2 rounds. But the first time I applied to schools that were very, very competitive, and I didn't realize that until after when I got waitlisted. And that kind of made me realize, okay, Don, you kind of have to like lower your standard, like go to a school that you can, that fits you and that you know that you're going to do well and that you can get into. And that requires you to go in and you do your research, figure out what the scores are for, the school that you're applying for, and then figuring out, what the actual process is. I know generally you have several essays that you have to write, and then there's recommendations that you also have to submit. And sometimes for the MBA programs, there's a requirement for you to take additional courses, like econ and accounting and things of that nature. So I had to do that the second time around, and I think it helped me get into more competitive schools.
Nice, thank you. Mei Ling?
So for the biomedical sciences, everything is on a cycle. And so you will be applying usually in the October, November range of your senior year if you want to go to graduate school that following fall. And so you want to make sure you're taking your GREs and whatever courses you need in your junior year or the junior year summer going into senior year. And so I remember having a very busy fall writing all these applications, and I worked actually quite closely with my research advisor to try to target schools, and she suggested trying to do 9 schools that you apply to, 3 that you think are reaches, 3 that you think you should probably get in, and 3 that are safeties. But she also advised me, do not apply to schools that you would not be comfortable going to, because it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time that you're spending on these applications. So only apply places where you actually would go if you get in. And so with that in mind, you apply in the fall. All these applications are due usually around Thanksgiving, which is really stressful time for the holidays. And then you don't really hear anything until right around Christmas time or right around or a little bit after. And interview season is January, February. And so these schools will invite you to come and interview during those few months. And then you hear back within the next few months, and you usually have to decide by April, May, where you're going to go. And so that's the cycle for biomedical sciences.
Thank you. We did receive a question from a student. It was, how does funding work? And sort of what types of scholarships are available? EC?
Don't bank on getting a scholarship for grad school. I'm sorry, I had to just be like completely on. Don't bank on it. I mean, it happens, but don't bank on it like at all. Go into it thinking you're not going to get a scholarship, because it's not like college at all in terms of the loan process and such. So yeah, I just wanted to say that quickly before anybody said anything else. It's possible, but don't bank on it.
Thank you for bringing that to the convo. Don?
From my perspective, it is definitely possible. You just it takes a lot of work, and you have to really do your research. I think it's good to know that some companies offer tuition reimbursement. That's how I was able to kind of start off my MBA program. I was actually working at Harvard Business School at the time, and they offered tuition reimbursement. But there are also opportunities within, depending on, a lot of schools are offering, opportunities for students of color. They want to get, students that come from diverse backgrounds. So you have to make sure that you get a really high score on your standardized tests to be able to qualify for those sort of scholarships. And related to that, for MBA programs, I wasn't aware that there is a consortium of basically it's sort of like the Common App, where you apply through the consortium, and if you get into that, if you get in and you apply and you get in and you get into the top, I think there's 10 schools, they offer you a full ride. You can definitely look into that, and that could also be an option for those who are interested in making sure that grad school is affordable.
Thanks, Don. Cathy?
I second what Dawn said, but I also want to back up EC. So for me, there were two steps here, right? So like I worked in communications, you guys. That's a very cognitive job. It's not a technical skill, right? Like you don't need to be a rocket scientist to like work there, right? But I knew for me, it can be a very ageist, especially when you're in the creative side of it, a very ageist industry. So I didn't want anybody to look at my undergrad and be like, she's going to be 10 years in and being a producer. That was really important to me. And that alone, the gamble on myself to go get a master's of science and communications, which you don't always need unless you want to, you know, teach, proved correctly, because I was able to go and double my salary. And because of that, I was able to go and actually pay for my loans, right? Like I can afford a premium payment because I also knew that undergrad, I didn't have to pay that much. And I also worked. So whatever I didn't get in funding and backing from Holy Cross, I was able to supplement as a server and bartender while I was there. And then on the second half, after I graduated, I looked for companies that would help exalt me to the next level, right? So that's how I ended up at Hulu. They had a reimbursement program as well. So even though I was already in my program and they couldn't help me, they matched. As long as I was paying $300 a month for my loans, they would pay $100 a month as well, as long as you don't miss your payments. And so that was really important to me. And even now, I'm considering a PhD in data science. And the only reason why even considering it is because the Walt Disney Company, it will give you $700 per unit or credit hour that you spend pursuing something that will help you for your skill, right? Data science is something that's more applicable to streaming than it is to regular television, but it helps the company and it also helps you. So there's ways, you just have to be really strategic about it and realistic with your own situation. Like not all of us have parents that can give us the backing. All of us can like go and find a bunch of like loans. However, you have to understand what you're willing to risk on yourself.
Thank you for that. How competitive are graduate school programs?
In terms of what?
I would say, that was the question, but I would say maybe competitiveness in terms of getting into these programs. Don, you want to go ahead for?
Yeah, I'd say, so I have this interesting perspective because my original intention, I was like, oh yeah, let me get a job at Harvard Business School and then eventually end up being a student there. And having that interaction, no offense to anybody, I actually know several Holy Cross alums that have gone through the process. A couple classmates of mine have gone through it. They enjoyed their experience, but I knew that it wasn't the right thing for me because I lived there and I've seen it. So for me, it's trying to find, it's very, very, very competitive. There are people who have spent tons of money, resources just for them to get in. They're hiring, consultants for like $10,000 just for them to work on their applications. And I know people who have done so. So that's how competitive it is, but you have to really understand that you have to know who you are as a person and what you're going to be able to contribute to the school. And once you articulate that through the essay, they will either accept or deny, and the school that accepts you, you're going to make sure that when you go in, you do the best that you can to be the best person that you can be while you're there.
Thanks, Don. Sheila?
I'll echo what Mei Ling said in the beginning in terms of like how she applied to grad school. So I would suggest like you have 3 categories of schools: a dream school, a rich school, and a safety school, right? So that means like it might be more expensive to apply, but in that way, you're basically covering your bases. So if you have a dream school, it's like, okay, if I get into this school, this will be great. And then there's a ritual, like you're measuring out like your ability as compared to the program's ratings or rankings. And then you can also look at that. But for the sciences, at least from my perspective, it's even more dependent about like things like grades or your research experience. So right now, it's really hard to get into a graduate program in the sciences if you don't have research experience. It's definitely more challenging. So you need to have worked in a research lab and probably like for at least like a year or 2 that's consistent, and have like a small research thesis to be admitted to the more competitive science programs. So it's more research. Like if you have a lot of research experience as an undergrad, they might even overlook some things in your application because of that.
Wow. Mei-Ling?
Just to reiterate what Sheila said, also a lot of the biomedical sciences are now getting rid of GREs, but your research experience, your publications, things like that are definitely going to carry you through graduate school. I had very mediocre test scores. People would think that I was a very, very just competent person, maybe not super intelligent, but I had fairly decent grades and really decent research experience. And so I got into some really nice schools. But I would say definitely use your resources to make you more competitive. Ask us to read your materials, ask people that you know that are in graduate school to give you feedback on it, because I've seen a lot of first drafts and people have a lot of really good potential to be very competitive, but they just don't know how to sell themselves quite right. And people that have already gotten into graduate school have been seeing these types of things, and so it's kind of second nature now, and so it won't take them much time to give you that type of feedback. But in terms of if you're looking for kind of stats of competitiveness, for my program, they probably got 300, 400 applications and a target class size of about 20. And so they probably, from that pool, they interview about 60 students, and then they maybe give offers to probably 30 or 40 on a rolling basis, trying to fill that class size of 20. So if that gives you some sort of perspective of competitiveness. But also, in case this question was more about competitiveness within the school, that is something that you do want to look into when you're joining a school, because especially in the PhD sciences, you're there for a really long time and you want to be in a very supportive environment. And so you just want to make sure that the peers that you're entering with are not just going to be competing directly against you, rather that you're going to work together to support each other through this long journey.
That's a really good point. So how did y'all decide in which graduate program to enroll in? What was some of the factors that helped you with that? I see Cathy.
Chris, I think that's a really good question, because for me, being in communications and journalism, a lot of people that have made it really far actually are all Newhouse graduates, which is where my graduate degree is from Syracuse. And it's really important and holds weight, because just as much as people are going to bat for you as Crusaders, they're going to bat for you as Orange, right? So for me, it definitely opens a lot of doors, and it was ranked as one of the top organizations in the country. So I honestly only applied to Syracuse. And for me, if I didn't get in, I wasn't about to go spend a lot of money into something that it would mean nothing to the people in my industry.
Thank you. Amir.
Yeah, so a lot of people in my office are a part of the Northeastern program that I'm a part of. So that was a part of it. I also really liked that they have this portion of the program that allows me to build my portfolio as I go through the program. Because my thing is once you leave Holy Cross, I'm very picky about my time. I cannot be wasting my time doing anything at this point, even if it's with people. I have to really like you to be spending time, because time is money. Time, to be completely frank with you, time is money. So if I'm going to be doing this program, one of the things that I really wanted to know is that my investment in this program and what I'm going to be paying and doing is going to be worth it in the long run. And I need to be able, and that portfolio for me, they guarantee me at the end of my 2 years, I'll be able to utilize my portfolio to show the educational policy that I'm interested in. So that was hook, line, and sinker. And the tuition is not that bad in comparison to other schools. So that's why I was this is honestly it's either this or I'm gonna have to apply again next year, because it seems like the best investment of my time and my money.
Nice. EC?
Oh my gosh, I actually forgot the question. What was the question?
What criteria did you use to decide on a graduate program?
Okay, sorry about that. So I ended up choosing Suffolk University because, well, one, I definitely wanted to stay in Boston. Born and raised here, I knew I wanted to start a career in Boston, so that was the most important thing. I did apply to schools elsewhere, for example, Howard, which I got into, which my father really wanted me to go to because it was an all-Black school, but I just decided that it made more sense because I knew I wanted to be in Boston, and it would be easier for wherever you want to establish yourself. For me, I think it's easier to go to school there so that you have better networking opportunities, and also you have a feel of how it's going to be because during the summer times, you're going to be working. So if you're in law school, you're going to be working during the summer times, or at least you should be working during the summer times. So that was very important to me. I chose Suffolk University because of the people there. I heard great things about it. A Holy Cross alum actually went there for his 1L year, and I was very close to him. So I got a lot of feedback from him. I was invited by one of my cousin's mentors to go to the Black Law Student Association's dinner. So I met a bunch of people there, and it just felt welcoming. I'm very, very, feeling welcomed is very important to me. So if I go to a school and I feel like I don't belong, I'm not going there. So when I was there, they made me feel very welcomed. I ended up joining Black Law Student Association when I came there. They still remembered me, so that was very important to me. And also, biggest thing for me, solidifying Suffolk, was the location. Suffolk's location is second to none. I don't care what anyone says. It's right in the middle of downtown Boston. So if you want to work in downtown, obviously, like there's a bunch of places around the place. Like after my 1 year, I worked at the Massachusetts Attorney General's office, which is literally a 2-minute walk from Suffolk. My job when I graduated was, again, like a 3-minute walk from Suffolk. So the location was great. But yeah, that's why I decided upon Suffolk University Law School.
Nice. And for students in the session right now, we are about to start wrapping up. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, just please drop it. Don, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so very similarly, I knew I wanted to stay around in the Boston area, and I also wanted to make sure that I go to a school that had a really good brand, and BC has a really good brand, and the culture is very similar as a Jesuit institution. So it made sense for me to make that transition there, and it was quite easy. I think for me, I did an evening, partially, I started as an evening, in the evening MBA program at first. But because of flexibility and being able to work as I finished school, and then I pursued the MS in cybersecurity. I had taken courses that, as part of, I took courses in that MSS, the MS cybersecurity program, and so it made sense because I already had credits. So it just made sense to do it that way. That's essentially why I chose to go to DC.
Thank you. Sheila?
For the sciences, and I'm speaking specifically like chemistry, and I went to BC, and one thing about like the sciences is you get into a school, right? And then you have to choose a research professor. So you don't decide who your advisor is going to be for your PhD until you're in the school. So that's another hurdle you have to think about. So in that regard, you want to make sure that when you look up these schools, you're looking at the publication record of these professors. So have at least 3 professors that you would be interested having as mentors for your PhD. Because chances are if your first choice doesn't take you, your second choice should be able to take you, or your third choice. So have at least 3 professors that you'd be comfortable working with.
Thank you for that. I remember when you were going through that process, Sheila. So we are just about at time. And so for our amazing panelists, before we wrap up, can you share some words of advice for current students who are currently thinking about or applying to graduate school? And one thing you wished you knew before applying. So advice for current students who are currently thinking about or applying to graduate school, and one thing you wished you knew before applying. Amir?
So you said current advice and one thing I wish I knew before applying. All right, so my current advice to y'all is, one, like just make sure you're prepared for getting all like the requirements that you need to get done. Like make sure you take the time to look up whatever the application entails, regardless of the degree you're applying to. The other thing I want to say too, and this is just like from my own experience, don't count yourself out of the race before you even try to like run, right? Especially for students of color in particular. I feel like a lot of times we get so turned off to certain things because we think that we are not supposed to be in given spaces. you all are supposed to be in the spaces that you want to be in. Like, I cannot stress that enough. You all are bright and smart individuals. We are out here. We've been out here. Like, we have been out here. So do not, like, please, like, if you take anything from this conversation, just remember that you are worth it, that you are smart, you are intelligent. You guys can do whatever the hell that you want to do. And like, literally shoot for the stars. And then for one thing I wish I knew before applying, and I'm sorry, I get worked up, so I'm not trying to talk too much. But the one thing I wish I knew before applying was, I wish I took a little bit more time to figure out which schools were like GRE necessary and like which ones weren't, because then I would have saved myself. My school isn't GRE, but I bought the book because I thought it was, and I was like, ooh, it's just a waste of investment. So that's my only advice.
Thanks, Amir. EC.
So for advice, I'm just gonna echo what Amir said. Like, don't never count yourself out. Confidence is key. So if you feel like, if you're not confident about something, not saying it's not going to work out or anything, because sometimes, you know, we get lucky, but confidence is so key. For example, I'll take myself as an example. I told you guys, the first time applying to law school, it did not work out. I said, okay, well, I'm going to apply again. Because listen, I only wanted to be a lawyer. I knew like there was no other thing that I was going to be. So I took a year off and I applied again, and I ended up getting into good schools and getting scholarships for those schools. And on top of that, I ended up finishing part of the top of my class and having numerous scholarships. So never feel like you cannot getting numerous awards, but never feel like you can't do anything. I know for a fact that because the first time it didn't work out, that was the fuel I needed to be like, I don't want to go through that again. So that gave me the confidence to do very well my first year, and doing very well my first year gave me the confidence to know that I can be a first year associate at a prominent Boston law firm. And then it just kept going. The only times in my life that I feel like I regret things is when I wasn't confident with myself. So that's definitely the major advice that I would give each and every one of you. One thing I wish I knew during law school, I guess, I don't know, the loan stuff, yeah, like financial things. But honestly, I really hope they get rid of all of our student loans. So hopefully that doesn't matter.
Thanks, EC. Mei Ling, and then Don, and then I'll start to wrap up.
Sure. So the first thing I would say is I wish I had talked to more people that did graduate school in my particular field. I had no idea what I was getting into other than what my professors had told me, that I knew you did classes at the beginning and then the rest was straight in the lab. But I had no idea what I was getting into. Like, I thought I was very well prepared, but I hadn't talked to anyone that went through graduate school. And that would have been so helpful just in terms of applying, because they know like what the formula is, how to make yourself more competitive, all those things, as well as just how to succeed when you get there. So I had no idea what I was doing when I arrived, and it sounded like everyone else knew exactly what they were doing. Later on, I found out that no one knows what they're doing, but everyone just acts like they know what they're doing. And so imposter syndrome is like a huge, huge thing in graduate school. And you just got to go in there knowing if someone's being super arrogant and being a jerk, it's probably because they're really insecure. And so it's not because you are lesser than them or you don't deserve to be there. If you got into a school, like, you 100% earned it and you deserve to be there. And so just go in with that in mind and you'll be great.
Thank you. Don?
I guess for me, I would say the biggest advice is take advantage of the opportunities that you have at Holy Cross. So that means that if you are interested in taking an econ course or financial accounting, then do that now. So then it looks more legitimate if you apply to business school. There's some sort of track record for that. And I think the other thing is what I didn't know about applying to grad school and actually getting in was I had to go through, I did an evening program and it was very, very exhausting. But I think what really helped me was I had a really good support system. So make sure to keep your family engaged and, informed of what's going on, even through the application process and even after you've completed that and entered school. Just make sure that you keep engaged with your friends and family, because those are people that are going to hold that are going to have your back even after when it's done. So enjoy your time at Holy Cross, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Well, thank you. all for the amazing knowledge and contribution that you all brought to the program tonight. To our students who joined us, thank you for joining us for this Lift Mentoring webinar. Stay tuned for more webinars in the future. If you would like to connect with any of the panelists from tonight's session, please reach out to me. They're also sharing their information in the chat. If you would like me to bring someone back to dig deeper into the conversation, so I'm thinking about maybe like folks like Sheila and Mei Ling who are, did science focused PhDs. If you want me to bring those folks back to dig deeper into the conversation, just please reach out. Otherwise, thank you all. Good luck with the fall semester. I know it is not the semester that we all wanted, but I'm sending you all love and light. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure. Thank you to our panelists. I'll hang back for a minute if folks would like to ask me any questions or ask any other panelists any questions, but be safe and take care.